I'm sick. I swear to God, this control logo is going to drive me up a wall. Just look at it. The N and the T aren't symmetrical. It's like the T and the word control only forms if you count the oddly shaped N. But if you do that, then you're left with a weirdly placed Tetris piece. And I know it's not important in the grand scheme of things, but for fuck's sake, it hurts my fucking brain. Remember, I have OCD. I'm literally one S piece away from an aneurysm. Forgive the atrocious pun, but control is out of control. Like a locomotive navigated by a 5-time DUI recipient, the Remedy action horror David Lynchian Twin Peaks style mindfuck is completely off the rails. Even by developer Remedy's surreal standards, Control's tendency to dive headfirst into acid-infused jello casserole truly is a spectacle to behold. And for the most part, Control's indulgences and batshit makes for a compelling video game experience. Mostly. The near unintelligible story follows Jesse Faden, who enters a strange government building inquiring about a job interview. However, upon entering the building, something is clearly amiss. Instead of being greeted by government employees who hate their jobs, the front desk and hallways are empty, with no signs of occupational misery in sight, save for a creepy oddball janitor. Sounds great! Now here's where it gets weird. When trying to meet the boss of this government agency, you find that he has been killed, and you grab the gun he was holding, which turns out to be an object of power, and links to you, thus making you the new boss of this secret government secret agency. Secrets. That admittedly sounds like a terrible way to decide who gets to run a United States government agency, but to be fair, so is the Electoral College. Jesse, now wielding the magic gun, is in charge of the Federal Bureau of Control, which is a paranormal... I'm so sick. Which is a paranormal... I keep my nose is so congested, I can't say paranormal correctly. Oh god, I might need a Mucinex. With that gun, Jesse's now in charge of the Federal Bureau of Control, a paranormal investigative branch within the US government, which is undergoing a hostile takeover, but not from fun-gutting bureaucrats, but from the Hiss, which are an entity that's possessing your co-workers to want to murder you. Great! I love office drama. There's admittedly more to the story than that. Jesse, the main protagonist, if you can't remember, you fucking remember! I lost my place after that. There's more to the story than that. Jesse's obviously got more secrets than she's letting on than at the beginning, as does the Federal Bureau of Control, you know, because it's a secret government agency. What agency doesn't have its own secrets? You know, the kind of secrets that they have top men hide? You know, top men. However, to give away the plot too much would spoil some of Control's more juicier secrets. But what I will say is the game captured my imagination, both in terms of its creative plot twist and as well as its, well, world building, which is pretty damn impressive, I gotta be honest. In fact, the world within Control is bonkers. The game entirely takes place within the Bureau itself. The building is akin to the Doctor's TARDIS or a Nissan Cube in that it's bigger on the inside. The goal of the gameplay itself is to claim control points, basically a Dark Souls style campfire thingy, which grants you some fast travel capabilities and allows you to upgrade your skills. Additionally, the control point in the hub room allows you to change into some really swank suits. Because when you meet interdimensional evil beings, you gotta look fashionable. As stated, the control points also allow you to upgrade your gear and add modifications to your person as well as to your guns that do significantly alter the gameplay. Mods that transform your pistol and boost your health and such, you know. The control points additionally act as checkpoints within the world, and dying causes you and sometimes your enemies to respawn after an irritatingly lengthy load screen. Yes, a load screen! The game's true villain. Traversing the world and discovering secondary quest lines and documents enrich Control's world and mystery. The optional content is always worth undertaking, seeing as uncovering the Bureau's mystique is the greatest aspect of the game. Completing these missions, main story or otherwise, will give you points to upgrade your in-game abilities as well as unlock new powers. And this leads us into Control's gameplay, which unfortunately is probably the weakest aspect of the game. It's the part of Control that's the most faulty and unwieldy. First, let me state off the bat that Control's gameplay is fun. It has an arcade-style run-and-gun feel to it. You always want to be on the move in the game. Racking up kills gives you health, and staying still makes you a sitting duck. There are no ammo collectibles as your bullets recharge like in the first Mass Effect, and as you traverse further into the depths of the Bureau, you unlock nifty abilities. Some of these abilities are basic, like a dash or a ground pound, but there's also ones that allow you to levitate as well as practice telekinesis, which works very well with Control's destructible environments, meant to highlight the game's amazing particle effects and jaw-dropping lighting. Take that, you fuck! However, even though Control's fluid and movement-based game... you can tell I'm sick, right? However, even though Control's fluid and movement-based gameplay is very fun, the game's awkward control scheme regularly limits the fun. In terms of the shooting, your starting pistol can transform into different types of weapons, which act as like a pistol shotgun, a pistol machine gun, and so on and so forth. However, you can only have 2 of these gun forms equipped at a single time, meaning that if you want to switch to a gun form that's better for a specific situation, you'll have to interrupt the flow of the fast-paced combat in order to change it. It sucks because Control's gameplay in terms of action is entirely based around pace, and having to dive into the options menu within a firefight wrecks that said pace. It's like you're trying to call timeout in the middle of the action. It's a very bad design choice in a game that otherwise plays like this. Also, I gotta say, some of the aiming is very janky. Jesse's body regularly blocks the reticle when aiming. You can technically use a directional button to switch shoulders, but that should always be at a last resort rather than a regular occurrence. Also, I don't recall the game ever instructing me how to switch the over-the-shoulder camera. I figured this out by complete accident. Also, Control's enemies are kind of dull. Lacking enemy types were a problem in Remedy's Alan Wake title as well. While Control does a great job at injecting a creepy atmosphere within both its world and its visuals, the enemies themselves are mostly just possessed co-workers or items like a refrigerator that acts as a boss fight. Listen, with the exception of Gary, co-workers aren't scary. Hey, that rhymes. Hey, with the exception of Fred, co-workers aren't scary, and neither is the workplace refrigerator. That shit gets cleaned out weekly. I feel like this was a wasted opportunity. Control takes place within a paranormal government office, building, research place, prison. Kind of a bad combo when you think about it on a realistic level, to be honest. But I feel like they could have gone all out and added some really cool monsters, because you have a really great setting of a paranormal government agency, and you basically just get basic mundane enemies with the occasional interesting one. With that said, I thoroughly enjoyed Control. Even beyond stating the obvious that it's a single-player, story-based game without live service bullshit, the world and the story are engaging, the visuals are terrific, the lighting and the particle effects are some of the best I've ever seen in a video game, and the gameplay, even with its faults, is very fun. If Remedy decides to make Control a franchise, count me in for the sequel.
Oh, God, I might need amusements.